Hey everybody, so today I'm here to do a breast pump comparison between the Medela Sonata and Lansinoh Smart Pump. I have done full individual reviews on both of these breast pumps, which I will have linked for you guys to check out. So first I'm going to run through all of the points that I reviewed them specifically on, see which one does better in each category, and then at the end of the video I'll give you my own personal experience and my recommendation. So the very first one was price. The Lansinoh Smart Pump goes for up to $200 on Amazon, but I've seen it go all the way down to $140. The Sonata is still around $400. I've seen it go on sale, sometimes down to $350, but normally it's right at $400. I also wanted to mention insurance here. If you're an American citizen, normally most of the time your insurance will cover some kind of cost towards a breast pump. Make sure you check into that, and the Lansinoh Smart Pump is becoming more widely covered. I also want to mention quickly that if you do see the Lansinoh Signature Pro but not the Smart Pump, they are the same motor, so you'll be getting the same thing that I'm reviewing here, just not the app version. Obviously, in that price difference, Lansinoh wins this one, and especially since it is becoming more widely available on insurance plans, it definitely wins the price one. Number two is function and ease of use. Me personally, I think the Lansinoh is a ton easier to use. The Sonata has this interface right here, which is all touchscreen. At first, I really loved the idea of this, but in actually using it, it is not as simple as what it seems. You really have to be prominent with your touches. You can't just lightly tap something like you would on your phone screen or something like that. This is just a little bit more complicated. At night, it was even more difficult for me to use because the light isn't just really concentrated, it's kind of diffused, and it's almost like this glowy kind of light, which is great, but at the same time it makes it hard to distinguish things. So me personally, I didn't really care for this, and I just widely prefer the Lansinoh. It's pretty straightforward. It has the power, it has this one which I hardly ever touched. As you can see, it's the different modes: increase suction, decrease suction, and let down mode. So I just feel like this was a lot simpler to use. Different buttons mean different things on here. If you hold them down, they do different things. I just feel like the Lansinoh is more straightforward. There's less of a learning curve. So for me, Lansinoh wins this one. Next up is recommendations and reviews. Lansinoh wins this again. It has 4.9 stars on Google, along with a lot of good talk about it. I feel like more and more people are actually trying this pump. They're liking it. I hear a decent amount of talk about it, opposed to when it first came out and not a lot of people had tried it. The Sonata, on the other hand, it's probably to do with the fact that it is a $400 pump. It's not on insurance plans. It's hard to get. Not a lot of people have tried it, and when I do hear about it, it's pretty hit or miss. The Sonata also only has 3.1 stars on Google. So like I said, Lansinoh wins this one too. Number four is portability and power options. The Lansinoh and the Sonata both have battery packs. Now, the Sonata is a rechargeable. You plug this in. As you can see, it's a pretty big guy. That's because there is a rechargeable battery in here. So if you do have it charged up, you can use it just like this. You can take it wherever you need it. The Lansinoh has a battery pack underneath, and it is powered by AA batteries, 6 of them to be exact. They always come flying out whenever I open this up, but as you can see, it is in there. The fact that these both offer battery packs does add something to the portability aspect. They're both pretty heavy with their battery packs. If I have batteries in here, it is a decently heavy pump. Along with the Sonata, you know, you can't remove anything, but it is a decently heavy pump. At the same time, I think that's a fair trade-off. If I can pump without having to worry about a cord, I will take a heavy pump any day. I don't care which one it is. I think that's a pretty awesome feature. I like that both of them have them. It's not an additional accessory that you have to buy, so I do like that. And as far as portability, the Lansinoh is far smaller. As you can see, you know, this Sonata is pretty bulky. Like I said, it is heavy. At least the Sonata is kind of just a little bit bigger than my hand, so I do prefer the Lansinoh when I'm traveling. Number five is accessibility to spare or replacement parts, and the Sonata wins this one. It is in stores, at least for like Babies R Us, Bye Bye Baby. Baby specific stores seem to be carrying the Sonata. I will say that you can't use pump parts from other pumps of Medela's on the Sonata. It is very specific to this pump. The Lansinoh really doesn't have anything in store, which I think they could greatly benefit from doing, and it's all mainly online. So like I said, the Sonata wins that one. And then the next category, number 6, is customer service, and I feel like this is a tie. Lansinoh and Medela are two of the best customer services that I've ever dealt with, and I greatly appreciate both of them. The next category is durability. Now I'm going to start off with the Sonata. The Sonata I used for a month and I promptly quit for a couple different reasons, one of which I'll get to in just a second, but the other one being that it does have a lifespan. Right in the manual it says the lifespan of this pump is 3 15-minute sessions a day for a year. That is not a lot of time, especially if you're an exclusive pumper. So knowing that this pump had a lifespan, I didn't want to use it any more than what I wanted to. So I will get into the second point of why I quit using it, but I did want to mention that it does have a lifespan. It's not something that they advertise, but it is right in the owner's manual. So I did want to mention that because if you're an exclusive pumper, that's probably not going to work for you. Now with the Lansinoh, it doesn't have any kind of specified lifespan or anything. The only thing I can say is what I've used it. I've used it primarily through my pumping journey. I had pumped for a year and 9 months, and I was single pumping, which meant that I did one breast at a time. So I would take a half hour on each breast, adding up to an hour pump session. Just to throw it in here in case you weren't listening, do not do an hour on both breasts. That's absolutely insane. I was doing one at a time, so it added up to 1 hour. So this pump lasted 1 year and 9 months of doing exclusively pumping with 1 hour sessions, which is absolutely amazing to me. Now, obviously, the farther I got along, the less I pumped and stuff, but still, this thing was a workhorse nonetheless. It held up amazing. You know, my buttons might have rubbed off, but I mean, who cares? It actually still worked. So obviously, this thing can go the extra long mile. So whether you are going to be occasionally using it, frequently using it, or exclusively using it, I think you're set with that one. So Lansinoh wins this hands down. The last category is noise, and I do believe that the Sonata wins this one. This is actually one of their selling points for the Sonata, is how quiet it is, and I do think that it is really quiet, but I did want to say when you crank it up pretty high, it does sound like a lower level kind of pump, so it can get louder obviously as you increase the suction level, but it is a very quiet pump, so that's why the Sonata wins this one. Then there were a few other things that I wanted to mention. First of all, both of these pumps are closed system pumps, which means that they have mechanisms in place to prevent milk from going back into the motor, but they are also single user pumps, which means that they're only intended to be used by one mom. I also want to mention that they both have two-phase expression that mimics baby's natural sucking pattern, where they suck really fast at first to stimulate milk, and then they do slower, more drawn out sucks to express milk. Both of those have buttons to use that kind of feature. As far as cycle rates go, they both have cycle rates that will allow for you to effectively draw out milk if you're using them properly. A nursing baby sucks anywhere between 45 to 55 times a minute, and you don't want a pump that's under 25 a minute, so they both exceed that very well. One of the biggest features for me was that they both offered different modes. Now with the Lansinoh, there is different frequencies. They call it modes, but I like to call it frequencies. It's a little easier for people to understand. So basically, it's increasing or decreasing the frequency of your pumps and how frequently or less frequently it's sucking. So I love that about that. I need a pretty high frequency to express milk easily. It what allows me to keep doing it. So like I said, with the Lansinoh, it has 3 different ones. There's obviously a slower one, a medium paced one, and there's also a very fast one. It comes, when you turn it straight on, it goes straight to the middle one. So it's not too high, not too low, and that's where I like to be. If I had a clog or something, I would crank it up to be a higher frequency, and that would help me out. I never use the lower setting. Now with the Medela, they do offer different modes. However, I'm not quite sure that I could ever tell a difference. I tried this time and time again, and their mode setting is right here. I tried it. I could not feel any difference whatsoever. I just feel like Lansinoh far better executed those modes or frequencies, whatever you want to call them, than the Sonata did. And lastly, they are both smart pumps, which means that they have apps that they sync to on your phone via Bluetooth. In the beginning stages of pumping, it's great. I do definitely use it, especially when I'm trying to keep track of my stash, how much I'm making, just keep an eye on everything. But the farther I get in my pump journey, the less I care, the more I just let myself just be and I don't focus on that stuff. I feel like both of their apps are really nice. I will say that I would like to see them change breastfeeding and bottle feeding to bottle feeding and nursing, because you can be breastfeeding via bottle. And I just feel like they both work very well. I didn't have a problem pairing either one of them to my phone. It was pretty effortless and easy, as it should be with all kind of smart technology. With both of them, it was just really nice to know what's going on with your pump, seeing your pump session progress, and you could input how much you made, make notes about it, stuff like that. I will say that the Sonata did have one extra thing that I really appreciated. It was an air leak alarm, and it would come up on your phone as well. So if something wasn't hooked up right, you weren't getting full suction power, it would pop up and let you know, which I thought was pretty awesome. But all around, as far as the smart aspect of both of them go, I feel like they execute them very well. So as for my personal use and experience, I did want to say that as far as feel goes, the Lansinoh has like a hum of vibration to it that allows it to be more gentle. Like I said, you could also increase or decrease the frequency, which I felt like just allowed for more customization. And for me, having a higher frequency means that I am more comfortable. It feels better for me. So some people need that. The Sonata has a more mechanical pull, so think Pump and Style Advanced if you've ever used that, and it's more long and drawn out. So if you've used a manual pump and you can hold that lever down or your handle, if you know that suction that I'm talking about, just holding that there, if you can withstand that, I think you'd be fine with the Sonata. However, using a manual pump, I have to be frequent about it. I can't just sit there and hold my handle down and just let my nipple be sucked. That hurts incredibly for me, and that's why I pretty much hate the Sonata. I hate to say that because I really wanted to love it. Honestly, this was the pump that I was most excited about, and this was the pump that I was most surprised by. I did not expect to like this one, and I've loved it. It's what I recommend day in and day out to anybody who ever asks me. This one was the one that I was most excited for, and I was also the most let down by. It just didn't feel good. I was expecting them to kick it up a notch. People have been complaining for years that the Pump and Style Advanced can be a little bit too aggressive. It's not as gentle as the other pumps, and I feel like they didn't do any favors with this pump. If anything, they just made it more drawn out, and to me, I did not like that feeling whatsoever. I don't have a problem with the Pump and Style Advance. Honestly, I think it's because the frequency is higher on that one, and I'm not able to get irritated as quickly, whereas with the Sonata, like I said, it's just being drawn out, and that's just painful for me. As far as feeling goes, the Lansinoh wins hands down for me because it's just still the most comfortable pump that I've ever used. The Sonata does have a stronger suck than the Lansinoh, but I don't think for good reasons. The Lansinoh for me has enough suction, and it can go all the way up to being too much without ever crossing the line. I feel like it just never was painful. Even at that high suction, it just wasn't as comfortable for me. However, with the Sonata, I feel like it starts you off in a place that's just painful. I was either so low I couldn't stimulate any milk to come out, my nipple would barely be moving, or if I had it up to where my nipple would actually move, I could express milk, it was straight painful. I just did not enjoy it. I was really frustrated. The first time I used it, I told Mark I wasn't ever going to use it again. However, I talked myself back into using it, and I tried to make it work. I tried so many different things. However, I just could not get it to work for me. I think it just came down to the fact of the long, drawn-out mechanical pull did not feel good. Also, I feel like for $400, the fact that this thing is only supposed to last a year for 3 15-minute sessions a day is just absolutely absurd to me. It's not to say that your Sonata is going to quit that day. You know, the Freestyle also has that lifespan, and I've known people who have used that for years. For $400, it was something that I was expecting to feel good and last a long time. It was not until I tried it and I opened the owner's manual that I found that both were not going to be able to be achieved. So in my personal opinion, I pick Lansinoh, hands down. It's not just because it feels better, but it's just more compact. It offers a battery pack without being bulky. It's more affordable. It's a ton more affordable. The fact that it's on insurance plans, you know, there are little things like, you know, the spare replacement parts, they're not easy to get, the noise level, things like that, but those are very small in comparison to how a pump feels, functions, and is gonna last, especially to an exclusive pumper. So for me, hands down, the Lansinoh wins this one. But that is everything that I have for this breast pump comparison. Like I said, I'll have the full reviews for each of them listed down below. If you have any other comparisons you'd like me to do, leave them down in the comments below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.